I go for refuge until I'm enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, the Sangha. By my accumulations for practice of giving and so forth, may I become a Buddha to benefit all sentient beings. I go for refuge until I'm enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, the Sangha. By my accumulations for practice of giving and so forth, may I become a Buddha to benefit all sentient beings. I go for refuge until I'm enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, the Sangha. By my accumulations for practice of giving and so forth, may I become a Buddha to benefit all sentient beings. Sangye Joda Soge Chon Dage Jin Soge Be Sonam Ge Chola Benjir Sangye Jubare Shu Sangye Joda Soge Chonam Kyanjo Bardo Dane Gyapso Che Dage Jin Soge Be Sonam Chola Benjir Sangye Jubare Shu Sangye Joda Soge Chonam Kyanjo Bardo Dane Gyapso Che Dage Jin Soge Be Sonam Chola Benjir Sangye Jubare Shu. Okay. We are still doing step number 4 and 5, taking the suffering of others with emphasis and compassion. So for this, what we do is that we take the suffering in the form of 3 kinds. As I said earlier, there are so many versions of doing the same practice, and don't think that what we are doing is the correct one. What others are doing is wrong. This is not a point that they all are correct as long as it has benefited you, that your compassion grows and that your self-referential ego subsides, and then your practice is okay. That's good. Okay. So there's so many kinds. Don't think that there's only one way. There are so many ways. So with this, okay, now let's do that together. The taking suffering from others, we take first the suffering, second suffering change, third, the pervasive condition suffering. When you do that, say the basic principle is that you breathe in. This is what the masters in the past, they taught how to take the suffering from others and give your happiness to others through your breath. So as you breathe in, imagine that you breathe in through your left nostril, and then all the pains of suffering of others, and say everyone has a story to share, painful stories to share, extremely painful stories. And look at what's happening in the Ukraine right now. Now the Putin, he is mobilizing the Russian youngsters, and the Russian youngsters, they are trying to run away from Russia, not really endorsing what he's doing. He's just going crazy. I don't know what's going in his mind. Somebody can become crazy, like, when you have the power. Somebody can really go crazy. That's going mad. Very unfortunate. Okay, just think of all those acute pains, and don't just make it very general. If possible, try to be very specific. And given that we have to do this practice on a daily basis, say for example, today you want to focus on somebody who you know, like your mom, your sister, your brother, your neighbor, your friend, your colleague at workplace, and somebody going through acute pain. Just visualize that you take the pain of that person through your left nostril, and the pains, they manifest in a form of a very extremely dirty, corrosive water, like the torrent of the water. And if you can be creative, you can also imagine that with this dirty water, the pains that manifest in the form of the scorpions, the snakes, and so forth. Whereas if you think that, no, even the snakes, scorpions, they're also sentient beings. Why should we see them as very negative? If you don't like to do that, okay, don't do that. And for some people, if it's too extreme like this, it can be extremely, mentally can be a little stressful. And if you feel it too stressful, then don't do that. And for some people who don't approve to this, saying that even though why do we have to think of the snakes and scorpions so bad? Don't do that. Just think of the dirty water. Whereas for you, it's fine to think of the snakes, scorpions, so forth coming and entering through your left nostril. The pains, and very specific pains. Somebody who's going through the hospital experience right now in the ICU, or somebody who is in the hands of the terrorists, somebody who is in the KFC. For example, they say the poor chickens in the KFC. And we think of all these. We think of all these, and if possible, do one thing at a time, one at a time. So the poor chicken in the KFC, just imagine that you talk to the kitchen staff and to tell him to spare this chicken, and that instead the chicken's pain to be experienced, you manifest in the form of the very dirty, corrosive water, like the dirty water of the factories. How so dirty, they're stinking, pungent smelling. So they gush through your the left nostril. Left nostril, they enter through the nostril, and no, you don't go through like just keep all these things. Just enter through your left nostril and get to your heart. And when you breathe out, you can breathe out through your nose or through your mouth, is fine. Or, okay, when you breathe out, imagine that this dirty water in the form of the manifest pain of the beings, they in the form of very dirty water, they really say eat up like the acids, they eat up our body like this. They eat up your self-centered attitude, self-grasping ignorance, to which they reside in the heart, very relaxed. Yes, of course, these two, since time immemorial till now, we have never challenged these two. Self-grasping ignorance, we even don't know that they exist. And self-centered attitude, we know that it exists, but we see that this is like the force, like the power, your energy. That is deception. This is one which destroys us. So imagine two of them, self-grasping and self-centered, they're just like the boss of you, relaxing at your heart, and suddenly there's very dirty, corrosive acid water that gush through your left nostril, and they simply consume these two, and they are like, and at times you can also think of your heart, biological heart, also consumed by this, and see what is your reaction. If the reaction like this, which means the self-centered attitude is being attacked. This is so good. Whereas if it is too much, you cannot bear it, then you just imagine that this water, this dirty water, consumes this self-centered, fights with the self-centered, self-grasping ignorance. Once consumed, as you breathe out, you imagine they go down through your body and then go down through the ground and down. And you take it like three times with the suffering. So every day you can change it, or you can keep the same thing. But the thing is that if you keep it always the same thing, it can become very monotonous and it can become mechanical. But if you change it, then the life, you could see that is a very living experience, meditation with you. Okay, so you can think of any one such kind of song. For example, say Ukraine, where the bombing is constantly happening, and there be very innocent people that died, and children lose their parents, the parents lose their children. Just imagine one of these scenarios, and take the pain of that in the form of the manifest pain, suffering, in the form of the dirty water and so forth, through your left nostril. And as you breathe out, imagine that before you breathe out, they fight with the self-centered, self-grasping ignorance within you, and then they go through your body down the ground and then down. Okay, 3 times. Ready? Just first think of any suffering, anyone manifest suffering, And as you breathe in, you breathe with this, these sufferings manifest in the form of dirty, corrosive water. You ready? Okay, let's begin. Okay, good. Now let us take the suffering of change, the pleasant experiences in the form of the bait. In the form of the bait, they are so deceptive, coming in the facade of joy, coming in the facade of the pleasure and the pleasant feeling, but in actuality they are the bait trapping us in samsara. So these again manifest of all the other sentient beings. They manifest in the form of the dirty, corrosive, acidic water. They gush through your the left nostril, breathe in, they fight with the self-centered, self-grasping, even particular self-centered attitude, and then they go down as you breathe out. Ready? 3 times. Good. Next, the pervasive conditioned suffering. Imagine that we're taking the suffering in the form of how the sentient beings have been the slave of the contaminant karmas, afflictions, and particularly the self-grasping, ignorant, self-centered attitude. So just imagine that this vulnerability of the beings being under the control, under the sway, under the domination of the self-grasping, self-centered attitude. So they're being, or the involuntary burden samsara, or the neutral feelings, contaminant neutral feelings, they're all again come in the form of a very dirty, acidic, corrosive water. Same thing, 3 times. Okay, so this is the step 4, taking the suffering of others with emphasis on compassion. Step 5, giving your happiness to others with the emphasis of loving kindness, the desire to give happiness to other beings, happiness and cause of happiness to other beings. Okay, now come out. Particularly when you do these practices, better not to do with eyes closed. If eyes closed, you will feel like dozing off. Okay, so next is giving happiness to others. So this, again, there are so many versions there. I'm going to share with you what I do, and that again, with tallies with the, say the what is standard text. Okay, when you give means generosity. Gift means generosity. And generosity, there are 4 kinds of generosity. There are so many versions of that, and one way of classifying the generosity is into 4 kinds. One is the generosity of material resources. The generosity of material resources, number one. Number two, the generosity of love and affection. The generosity of affection. Number three, the generosity of protection. Generosity of protection. And number four, the generosity of dharma. Generosity of material resources, generosity of love and affection, generosity of protection, and finally the generosity of dharma. Four. And when we speak about generosity, usually we have we get impression that is related to the material resources. Now, only if you are rich you can be generous. Otherwise, you cannot be generous. That's not true, because generosity, there are four kinds, and material resources first. Then the number two is the love and affection, which is even more difficult than the material resources. Then the next one is the protection, where not only you give love and affection, but you be there to sacrifice your own life. Then, and finally, the most important generosity is the generosity of dharma, because generosity is help somebody. The best way to help somebody is help the person to be taken to fearlessness and infinite happiness. And that can be done, finally it can be done only through the sharing the dharma. How to get there? Sharing the wisdom. So the generosity of wisdom, generosity of dharma, this is the most, this is the supreme of all the versions of generosity. Okay, so as we say the give your happiness to others, happiness and the cause of happiness in the form of these four items. The first what you do is that as we breathe out through your right nostril. When you give it through your right nostril, and in fact this kind of like I say the connotation of some later practices, but for time being, it is not rigid that okay, you cannot give it from the left nostril. You can give from left nostril. There is no hard fast rule. Okay, but we maintain some standard so that what you do becomes really something solid, something which we can handle, or something which we can it has a shape. So with this, when you think of giving away, you just imagine all the material resources. First one, material resources, they are results of your virtues, particularly your the act of the giving. So just imagine that the material resource that you have, and cause of these material resources in the form of your virtues. Just imagine that you are sending them all in the form of white nectars, white lights through your right nostril. As you breathe out, just imagine that they go out like the white nectars, and your virtues, the material resource that you have, all they transform into the white nectars and white light. They go down, and they may touch with the beings who are deprived of material resources. These white lights and nectars, they become whatever they want, like the houses, the food, the medical facilities, or whatever facility, material resource that they want, they transform into this, and their aspirations are fulfilled. That the poverty, their problems are being removed. Just feel that. Okay, ready? Okay. Is it just 3, or we can do more? You can do more, but of course, the practice we should have some sense of the time management. That if you keep it too long, then you'll feel tired, and then you may not be able to complete the practice. So initially make it succinct and a little short, and then later on with your own experience, you want to do it like 10 times, 20 times is fine. Later on, to your own experience, you can decide with the proper time management. So next is the generosity of the love and affection. In fact, we see that millions of people, they suffer because of lack of love and affection. Oftentimes, people, they go through difficulties. When you succeed in your life, everybody comes to you. When you go through tough times, then the people stay away from you. When you go through difficult times, people stay away from you. Then people go through depression and stress. Okay, same on the so there the stress means your mind feels depression, particular depression, anxiety, and so forth. Your mind feels the helplessness. And the helplessness, your mind feels so low. So the opposite force is to lift up the mind, lift up your spirit, to lift your spirit up. So that is done by giving love and affection, give assurance. When you do that, instantly the other person feels very hopeful. There's a feeling of the lightness, the coming. So this is again a great generosity. Particularly when somebody is going through difficult times, you sit with the person, listen to the person, and then give some moral support. That is so precious. Okay, so here what you do is that as you breathe out, imagine that the practice of love and affection that you have been doing. And the love and affection, all the Buddhas, Bodhisattvas, they manifest in the form of the white lights and the white nectars. They go out to all the beings, particularly the people who go through low phase of their life. And imagine that, say, the mere touch lights, they manifest in the form of the Buddha Shakyamuni, Avalokiteshvara, Tara, Manjushri, Maitreya, and even yourself in your own form, physical form, in thousands and thousands of manifestations, and they sit with the people who are going through low phase of life, sit with them, listen to them, share some stories, console them. No, don't worry, we are there. We are all there to support you, to help you. Don't worry. So give that assurance. Listen to the person. Just imagine that they are giving love and affection towards them. Actually, it's you whose virtues manifest in the form of Buddha Shakyamuni, Medicine Buddha, then Manjushri, Tara, Avalokiteshvara, and even yourself, your form there, sitting with them, listening to them, and then consoling them, giving them love and affection. Okay, 3 times. Are you good? And if your practice of compassion is so good, if you could, your compassion really grows, you become really very compassionate. And then I remember His Holiness the Dalai Lama oftentimes saying that this is the best of the pujas for somebody. When you see that somebody becomes sick, your parents, your children, your family members, your friends, your colleagues, or anybody sick, you pray for them, or you make some offerings to the monks, to the monasteries, to the nuns, then request them to do the prayers. Yes, you can do them. Do this. But one thing which is practically most effective would be if you do this, for example, like the practice of giving your happiness to others. But if someone who is sick, just visualize that person in front of you, and all the other sick people, the animals, insects, and the human beings. At least when we become sick, they have this problem, that problem. The doctors also diagnose many of these, ailments. But the animals in the wilderness, they all have the same thing: cancer, tumor, all these things are there. But nobody's there to diagnose these things. So they don't have any speech, they don't have the voice. They suffer in silence. So let us think of all these, and if you do that, this holiness says that this is the best of the pujas that practice to help heal others. Okay. The next is what? Generosity of protection. So we see that, for example, say the people in Ukraine, how many of them they need protection, and in the KFC, how many millions of chickens die in the KFC. So while we do these practices, at the same time, see if we can gradually move from non-vegetarian to gradually towards vegetarianism. Because on the one hand, we do this practice, giving protection to these poor animals, giving protection to the people who are suffering. On the other hand, we relish the KFC products. That is contradictory. I don't mean to say that it's too bad that you are enjoying, nothing about all these poor animals. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is that, see if we can gradually drift from pure non-veg to gradually, slowly towards vegetarianism. I'm so happy that because of these talks, because of these teachings, and many people, they gradually turn towards, many people, they come up with sharing with me that because of this, hearing this talk, they gradually change to vegetarianism. Some say that usually I can't really have food without meat. And after this talk, I started not to buy anything from outside, meaning meat, red meat. I don't cook anything meat in my house after listening to talk, but I do eat meat when I go out in the restaurants. I eat. There's a change there. This is so precious. I appreciate. And some people, they said that usually every day I have non-veg food, but nowadays I have only once in a week. That's again a great change. I really appreciate. So precious. And some say that I stopped eating the chickens, and I do eat the other kind of food, meat. Even that is a change. That is so precious. It's not what's the point if you eat something and then stop chicken. What is this? You are still non-veg. No, this is not the point. Don't think of Gade Bodhiswaha. This is a Gade, Para, Samgade, Bodhis. This is so precious. Anybody taking any step is so precious. And if at all nothing happens, some people say that, no, I'm sorry, I can't do anything. I can't change to vegetarian. But I really appreciate the people who switch from non-veg to veg. Even this appreciation is so precious. That is the first step that the person will next take. The second, that will allow the person to take the second step easily. So this is what I'd like to share with you, and I really feel so happy. So therefore, when I hear these anecdotes, these incidents, or the transformations that happen to people, when I hear this, I really feel so energized to give more of these teachings. Of course, I feel so tired, to be very honest. I just came from Europe tour, all these Europe tour. After this, the Deer Park, then went to Delhi, few days again Tibet has all these complications, the problems from the last few months. Then come here, I really feel tired. But what makes me keep going is because what I say, I try my best. It's not that I'm perfect. I try my best to apply these in my practice, and I try to encourage others to do the same. Try your best. It's not that I'm forcing you to switch from the, let's say, the zero perfection to 100%. the perfection. No, that's not what I'm seeking. Any attempt that you make, when I hear people sharing with me that these are attempts that that I made, that inspires me. That gives me the energy to give me more of these retreats. So I'll be most happy if you think of any level, to whatever level of transformation, like drastic transformation, or 50%, 10%, 5%, 1%, 0.1%, whatever is fine, as long as mentally you feel something inside. Okay, so this is one thing. So with this, the generosity of the protection, what we do is that, say the protection, we think of, you can be as creative. These are things it's not that you have to bring a book and then teach. No. For example, KFC, it's obvious. It's obvious. We don't need any book to tell you, to teach you. In KFC, these poor animals are suffering. How many millions are suffering? How many millions of these poor chickens have been killed there? It's extremely unfair. So when I first came here, I saw that the Thosamling nunnery made a huge throne for me to sit on. I said, make it small. For me, the throne is not the point. What is the point is that change should be happening there. If the change is not there, then somebody making me as a sit on a high throne, it doesn't make any sense. It's stupid. Where there's no change, what's the point? It's a waste of your time. It's a waste of the people's time. Your resources, your money, your time, they're all wasted. There should be some change. So therefore, the point is that just think of these things. So I'm here not to take a book and tell you that, okay, this is how you interpret philosophically, scholarly. No. It's just to remind us, consolidate experience that we have. For example, the poor chickens. Millions of chickens are dying. For what? For our 5 minutes of enjoyment. For 5 minutes of enjoyment, millions of chickens are dying. It's very unfair, extremely unfair. It's not about your fame. It's not about the enjoyment. For example, many years ago, perhaps like 12, 13 years ago, I first had the pain here, a deep pain, and then the pain did not really go away. So the doctor advised me to go to a bigger hospital, to Apollo Hospital in Delhi. I went there, and then the doctor said that you must do biopsy. And he passed me to another doctor, a radiologist. And the radiologist, he gave me all the instructions what he was going to do the next day. And the next day, he said that in order to take the sample from my lungs, what he did was that he first, to make sure that he was to say, first give me anesthesia, local anesthesia. Local anesthesia was given to reduce the pain. Then he said that, so now I'm going to inject you. It can be painful. And after injected, the needle will be in your body there, stuck there, and I will put you into the scan. A scan. If you move, all these procedures will have to be repeated. And all the procedures from the beginning was very painful. So I had to say yes, because I don't want to repeat the procedure. And when he injected the needle there, the needle must be big. It is not small. And local anesthesia was there. And when he was inserting it, the pain was like a huge boulder pressing me, like dick, 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 dick. This was what I was feeling, and it was so painful. So I just bear the pain, and then with the needle there, still, then he put me in this scan to see whether it hit the right spot where my problem was. And he took me out, and then it was acutely painful. Then after all these procedures, then just imagining this pain, I can't really imagine going through this process again. And then there was a Tibetan nurse who came to assist me, help me, the Tibetan nurse there. Then I asked the Tibetan nurse, "Are you vegetarian? Are you vegetarian?" She said, "Not." And I said, "Can you become vegetarian?" She said, "Yes." And I said that we the human beings are extremely exploitative, bullish. Because look at me. Just a fine needle was put with the local anesthesia. Still the pain is so acute. And the poor chickens in the KFC. Where is the anesthesia? No anesthesia. Is it just a needle or slitting? It's a slitting. In my case, no slitting. With an anesthesia, it's just a fine needle. But poor chickens, where is the anesthesia? No anesthesia. It's not a needle. It's just slitting the throat. It's extremely unfair. It's extremely cruel on the part of human beings. I told her. We can't be non-vegetarian. I told her. And I told her, "Are you sure you want to become vegetarian?" She said, "Yes." And I'm so glad that I met this nurse once more after 1 year. And other people, she must have shared the incident to all her friends. And once she and her friends, they were all there to see me off. And then all the other friends, they were telling me that Geshe, she's still vegetarian. Yeah, I'm so happy to see these things happening. From our side, what can be done? Just do that. Just do that. And if at all, and I'm somebody who does not force anything to anybody. I don't like to force. Say, I share my thoughts, and then you should decide. And whatever step that you take, that I appreciate. So even if I said, even if in worst case, even if you cannot do anything to change the food habits, continue to be non-veg, but at least in your heart, you appreciate the people who become vegetarian. Even that is amazing success. I appreciate it. Okay, this is what we need to keep in mind. So with this in mind, say the KFC is one thing. Then in the Ukraine, for example, how many of them innocent people are dying now? Dying. All the body tensions. And somebody's disappearing, right? Somebody who is against the leader of the country, he spoke something against the leader, he disappeared. So even the journalists, they disappear. What? They have been killed. Secretly, they have been killed. Just imagine, think of all these things, all the nasty things happening on the globe. How many people have to live in fear? Just think of these. In many of the countries, people, they can't even talk freely to their own family members. Because anybody can overhear, and even the family member can be the spy of the government. This is how people have to live in fear. So, giving protection, generosity, protection. Just imagine again, and then the terrorists. How many people are in the hands of the captives of the terrorists? So for them, it's not about, okay, what will happen to me next year? It's about what will happen to me next minute, next second. Just think of these people who have to live in fear. So you can take any of these, one of the incidents, one of the situations, and then when you give, breathe out with your virtues of compassion, the virtues of the Bodhicitta, the wisdom of emptiness, the fearlessness, and so forth. They all you send through your right nostril in the form of whiteness, white lights, white nectars. They go there, and the mere touch of these lights and nectars with the beings, imagine that they manifest in the form of the Buddhas, Bodhisattvas, so forth, and also yourself there. And then, for example, let's say in the first hotel, the crabs, the fish, the huge fish, huge crab in a small container, just for the food of somebody. And then they will take this and they will just put directly in the boiling oil. Just think of these. And let's say the terrorists, to give an example, somebody as a captive in the hands of the terrorists, and then the throat slit within a minute. Just imagine that your white light nectars, they go there, they mere touch, manifesting from yourself there, and talk to the terrorists that spare this person, and whatever you want, I'll give you. And the terrorist said, no, if at all you want to, you have to kill somebody, kill me. Right? And imagine that you spare this, give protection to this person, the person spared, the person meet with the mother, father, children, the family, they're so happy. And imagine if you can do that, then you can think of the terrorist actually slitting your throat. When that happens, there's a feeling of tremendous fear and panic will come to you. When that happens, it is an attack it is a combat to your self-centered attitude. But by doing so, if it is too extreme, you cannot bear it, no need to do that. Just imagine that you transform the mind of the terrorist, and the terrorist become a good person. And the terrorist spare the victim, the person there, and the person is freed. You can be creative. Okay, whatever suits you, do that. So this you can shift one situation to the next. Day by day, you keep changing it. So this is how your compassion will keep growing day by day. Ready? Okay. You can just become any situation, like the victim in the hands of the terrorists, or the poor animals in the hands of the cooks in the five-star hotels, or in the border areas, the Ukraine, and in the places where the family domestic violence happening. Just imagine that you go there, and so this is what we do 3 times. Okay, good. What's next? Generosity of Dharma. Okay, generosity of Dharma, what you do is that the Dharma of, let's say, the renunciation, there are 3 principal parts. Renunciation, Bodhicitta, and the wisdom of emptiness. If you want to include, then the non-dual, the wisdom of the non-dual bliss and emptiness. 4. Renunciation, Bodhicitta, wisdom of emptiness, and the wisdom of non-dual bliss and emptiness. Non-duality of the bliss and emptiness. 4. Okay, the first is that the beings are suffering. Beings are suffering because of the negativities. Teach them how to stop the negativities. That is renunciation. You stop the negativities, you renounce the miseries. So, given the teaching, imagine that you, again the nectars with nectars, they the mere touch with the beings, they transform into, say, the Buddha Shakyamuni, Manjushri, Maitreya, Avalokiteshvara, Tara, and so forth, and yourself also there. And then giving them the teachings on renunciation, how to renounce your miseries. And imagine that because of this, the effect is being felt by the beings there, and that these beings, they commit themselves, yes, I'll renounce all the causes of miseries, I'll renounce this self-grasping ignorance. So with this, the feeling of renunciation arises. You just imagine that now everybody commits themselves to renounce the misery, renounce the cause of the miseries, so that the miseries will be removed completely. This one. Okay. So for this, we see that because there are four or three, depending on you, what you like. Then you do it like, say, the 3 times for the renunciation, Dharma of renunciation, 3 times for the Dharma of Bodhicitta, 3 times for the Dharma of the wisdom of emptiness, and 3 times for the Dharma of the wisdom of non-dual, the bliss and emptiness. Okay, the first, the renunciation, 3 times. Okay, good. Next is Bodhicitta. Not only that you want others to be free from suffering, you also want others to have the maximum happiness. And the maximum happiness is the result of the Bodhicitta. So imagine that, again, these lights meet with the beings, the mere touch manifests in the form of all the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, giving that the teaching on Bodhicitta, how to expand the heart of the Bodhicitta for all the other sentient beings. And then each one of them, they become so convinced that, yes, finally I have to practice Bodhicitta. And imagine that they are journeying this Bodhicitta, may I become Buddha for the benefit of sentient beings. 3 times. Okay, good. Next is the generosity of the Dharma of the wisdom of emptiness. So, with the first 2, you have taught them how to cultivate the motivations. The motivation to renounce your suffering, the motivation to embrace the Buddhahood for the benefit of sentient beings. Now, how to materialize these two the aspirations of these 2 motivations is by cleansing, remove the mental dirt. How to remove the mental dirt? Only through the wisdom of emptiness. So the next is giving the Dharma of the wisdom of emptiness in order to materialize the 2 aspirations of the renunciation Bodhicitta. 3 times together. Imagine that all the Buddhas, Bodhisattvas, they manifest, they give teachings on the wisdom of emptiness, and all the beings, they realize emptiness now. 3 times. Okay, good. The next is the generosity of the Dharma of the wisdom of non-dual, the bliss and emptiness. That is meant to expedite the path, expedite say that you want to become enlightened, but then, it takes like, let's say you have a work to be done, and it takes like 10 years. Instead of that, you want to make it very quick. To make it quick, because in 10 years, your family members, they're suffering so much. So to make this work so fast, so quick, so that the beings will suffer less. So for you to become enlightened, to become Buddha very quick, you need to follow the path of the non-dual wisdom of the bliss and emptiness. Okay, so of course, we have no clue what is the non-dualism and emptiness. Just keep in mind that there's a path which, when I'm matured with the relationship of Bodhicitta, wisdom and emptiness, eventually I will learn what this is, the non-duality, bliss and emptiness. This is what I'm going to learn to expedite my path, to make this path very fast. So I'm going to learn this, this practice to make my path to enlightenment very fast, so that I can benefit all the beings. And not only that, teach the beings how to experience this, the non-duality of the bliss and emptiness. Okay, same thing, again, all Buddhist Bodhisattvas, giving them this teaching on this 3 times. Okay, good. Okay, what is next step? We finished number 5. What is number 6? Actual exchange of self and others. Okay, so here there's no special technique as such. It's just to make a commitment. Okay, because this is a case that now there's so much of benefit in cherishing others, and no benefit at all, only harm by cherishing oneself. Henceforth, if ever I have to cherish somebody, I'll cherish others more than myself. If in future, if at all, I have to be indifferent towards somebody, I'll choose myself as object of indifference rather than others. This, you have to make a very strong commitment. Okay, let's make a very strong commitment here. Seeing the benefit of cherishing others and diminishing of cherishing oneself, makes very strong commitment that I will always cherish others more than myself, and if at all I should be indifferent towards the self rather than towards others. Okay, just make a very strong commitment there. Okay, good. And particularly when you do that, when you just make a commitment, if at all I have to cherish somebody, I'll cherish others. Again here, keep in mind that by this reflection, others are doing a favor from me. Instead of, okay, I'll cherish others, so I'm cherishing you, so I'm doing something for you. No. The fact that I cherish you, this is how you are helping me to get into my self-centered attitude. This is how you are saving me from all the miseries. You're doing favor for me. There's a joy coming in you. With the joy, later on, to cherish others, there's a vibrancy there. There's rigor there. There's a great vitality there. So these are all the tips, all the techniques by which to make the practice effective. Okay, we'll stop here. Deyata Om Gate Gate Paragate Parasamgate Bodhiswatyatam Om Gate Gate Paragate Parasamgate Bodhiswatya Om Gate Gate Paragate Parasamgate Bodhiswatya